This is P.5 Algebraic Expressions, Day 2. We've already discussed polynomials and their properties, and we've discussed addition, subtraction, and multiplication of polynomials in Day 1. And now in Day 2, we are going to just further that with a little bit more involved problems. So here we've got 3y squared plus 2x cubed quantity squared. And what we need to realize with this type of problem is this addition sign right here keeps us from distributing that 2 into the parentheses like we did earlier in chapter P. So we have to consider the fact that this is different, and we have to multiply this out twice. So we get 3y squared plus 2x cubed and times 3y squared plus 2x cubed. So we have to write that out twice and be multiplied using distribution of terms or box method. So we can do 3y squared times 3y squared. 3 times 3 is 9. Y squared times y squared is y to the 4th. We add those exponents, and then we do 3y squared times 2x cubed. 3 times 2 is 6. It's positive, so plus. 3 times 2 is 6. Y squared times x cubed is not something you can combine, so we write them separately as 6y squared x cubed, and then we distribute the 2x cubed. Once we've done the first term to all the terms of the second polynomial, we move on to the second term and do the same. So 2x cubed times 3y squared, you get positive 6. And again, you get x cubed and y squared. You cannot combine. They happen to be the same here. I'm going to put y squared first and x cubed second. Fix that. And then 2x cubed times 2x cubed. 2 times 2 is positive 4. X cubed times x cubed. Again, you're adding those exponents. You get x to the 6th. Now you look for like terms. When you use distribution of terms like this with a binomial and a binomial, your like terms will always be these two middle terms. So you are adding them, you're combining like terms, you add the coefficients, 6 plus 6, and you get 12. You do not change the variables at all, so you leave that as y squared x cubed. And then you bring down your 9y to the 4th, and your 4x to the 6th. And here is your final answer for that example. Now, if we do with the box method, you're going to have a 2 by 2 with 4 cells, and these are both positive. So I'm going to have this box here with 3y squared and 2x cubed, and multiply to fill in the cells. 3 times 3 is 9. Y squared times y squared is y to the 4th. To fill in this one over here, 3 times 2 is 6. Y squared times x cubed. As you can see, I'm getting the same exact terms as I did over there. 2x cubed times 3y squared, I'm going to get 6y squared x cubed. 2x cubed times 2x cubed, 2 times 2 is 4. X cubed times x cubed is x to the 6th. When you use the box method, as I've stated in other videos, you're going to have your common terms on the diagonal there, and you add those together. 6 plus 6 is 12. You have your y squared x cubed, and then you write your terms in order from top left to bottom right, and this diagonal is in the middle, so you end up with 9y to the 4th. plus 12y squared x cubed plus 4x to the sixth. As you can see, you get the same answer from combining, doing distribution of terms up there. In this second example, it's the same process. I just have three terms in three terms, so I have two trinomials here. It's just a longer process. So distribution of terms, I have x squared times 2x squared, and I get 2 because I have 1 times 2. And then x squared times x squared is x to the fourth. X squared times negative 3x, and I need to consider that as a negative 3. I get negative 3. X squared times x is x cubed. And then x squared times 1 is x squared. Now I've exhausted that term, distributed that to all the terms in the second polynomial. Now I move on to the second term here, 5x, and I distribute that. So 5x times 2x squared, 5 times 2 is 10, x times x squared is x cubed, 5x times negative 3x is negative 15, and x times x is x squared. 5x times 1 is 5x. Negative 7, I need to look at that as a negative 7, times the 2x squared is negative 14x squared. Negative 7 times the negative 3x is positive 21x. And negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. Now I look for like terms, and you could either just underline them or you can line them up. I will go ahead and line them up. I'm going to take 2x to the fourth. I'm going to write the first three terms that I got from the first distribution. 2x to the fourth minus 3x cubed plus x squared. And now I will start having some like terms here. So 10x cubed is positive, so I'm going to write that underneath here. Minus 15x squared plus 5x is going to come out here and kind of be on its own right now. And then minus 14x squared goes right here, plus 21x, and then minus 7. So if I draw down my columns here, you will notice kind of a cluster here in the middle where our like terms are. So in the front, I get my 2x to the fourth. In the middle here, I'm adding these together, by the way. So negative 3x cubed and positive 10x cubed is positive 7x cubed. Here I get positive x squared minus 15x squared minus 14x squared. I'm going to get 1 minus 15 is negative 14, minus another 14 is negative 28, x squared. 5x plus 21x is 26x, and then minus 7. And here's my answer. You can also do this with the box method. And if you need to write this down or look at this further, pause the video here. I'm going to now erase this, take this all away to show the box method. Let's move all this down. Not that. Okay, so now if I do the box method, I will have a 3 by 3 box. So x squared 5x minus 7 and 2x squared minus 3x, which is negative 3x, and positive 1. And when I fill this in, I'm still multiplying the same as I did before. I get 2x to the fourth. 2x squared times 5x is 10x to the third. 2x squared times negative 7 is negative 14x squared. For this box in the middle front, negative 3x times x squared is negative 3x to the third. Negative 3x times 5x is negative 15x squared. Negative 3x times negative 7 is positive 21x. 1 times x squared is x squared. 1 times 5x is 5x. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. And if I look at my diagonals, I will see that I have like terms right there. I have like terms right there with x cubes in the yellow, x squareds in green, and x in blue. And so these, if I look at negative 3x cubed and 10x cubed, I get 7x cubed. I'll go ahead and write the 2x to the fourth, and I get that positive 7x cubed. Here in the green, I get x squared, negative 15x squared, and negative 14x squared. If I look at negative 15 and negative 14, that's negative 29. And then a positive 1 would make that negative 28. X squared. 5x plus 21x is 26x. And then negative 7. And there is my answer there, which should be the same as what I got from the other method. Of course, I don't have it written down anymore. And I'm wondering if I added 5x and 21x to get 26x. So if there was that discrepancy, I apologize. But it is 26x. Okay, moving on to a couple more examples. Here I've got x plus 3y squared in parentheses squared, I'm sorry, and then 2x minus 5y quantity squared. So what we have to do is do these separately and write x plus 3y and, oh, I didn't want to put that exponent out there, sorry. And I'm going to do x plus 3y. And then over here, I'm going to get 2x minus 5y and 2x minus 5y. I'm just going to do distribution of terms to save time. I don't want to go through both methods all the time. X times x is x squared. X times 3y is 3. I'm going to put x first here because I started out with x squared. So 3xy. 3y times x, again, I get 3xy. And 3y times 3y is 9y squared because the y times y. Notice here I get x squared plus 6xy plus 9y squared. Now, as you are doing binomials squared, if you happen to notice, if you look at the first term here, I took x and I squared it. I took the 3y term and squared that. 3 squared is 9, y squared is y squared, and there's your 9y squared. To get the middle term, if you take and multiply x times 3y and double that, you get your 2 3y xy's, double that to get 6xy. That will always happen. So if I look at doing that for the second multiplication here, 2x squared, 2 squared is 4, and x squared is x squared. Because I'm going to fill in the middle here, I'm going to go ahead and multiply these two together and double it. So 2 times 5 is 10, negative 5, so negative 10 xy. So negative 10 xy, if I double that, I get negative 20 xy. And then if I take negative 5y and square that, I get positive 25y squared. And now I'll show you the work to show that that's what I get. 2x squared times 2x squared is 4x. Sorry, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 5 is negative 10xy. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. And again, I have the xy. I'm going to write as xy. And negative 5y times negative 5y, I get positive 25y squared. And as you can see, there's my two negative 10xy's to get my negative 20. Okay, now I'm not done because remember, these came from these two initial binomials being squared, which now have to be multiplied together. So I'm going to do distribution of terms, and let me see if I can get these a little bit closer to each other. And there we go. X squared times 4x squared is 4x to the fourth. X squared times negative 20xy would be negative 20. Now x squared times x is x cubed, and then the y. X squared times 25y squared is going to be positive 25. I'm going to go ahead and put x squared first and the y squared second. Alphabetical order. 6xy times 4x squared would be 24. Let's see, the x times x squared gives us x cubed with the y. 6xy times negative 20xy is going to be negative 120. X times x is x squared, y times y is y squared. 6xy times 25y squared is going to give me 150. X and y cubed, because I have the y times y squared. And finally, I have 9y squared times 4x squared, which is going to give me 36. Again, I'm going to put the x squared first. 9y squared times negative 20 is negative 180. X and then y cubed. Let me see if I could put all this together here. It's not grouping. Let's group it this way. Sorry. And I'm going to make it smaller to give me room to finish this off. Sorry. Okay. And then 9y squared times 25. That would be 225 y to the fourth. Okay. So then that gives me a bunch of like terms here. So I'm going to put 4x to the fourth. Like I had, I'm going to do the first three terms, and then I'll start lining up my like terms. So minus 20x cubed y plus 25x squared y squared. And now, so I've done these three. So 24x cubed y is going to fall right underneath this one. Negative 120x squared y squared. goes under there. Now this is a new one. So plus 150 x and y cubed. 36x squared y squared goes under here. Negative 180 xy cubed. And 225 y to the fourth. Let's see here. This is not an example. I wrote that by mistake. And let's make our columns here. And we're adding. 4x to the fourth stays the same. I have essentially 24x cubed y minus 2x cubed y, which is 22x cubed y. Here I have 25 minus 120. These are all x squared, y squareds. So 25 minus 120 would be negative 95 plus 36 gives me, hold on, let me check something here. Oh, this is a 20 right here. So that means we messed up there. So this is minus 20x cubed y plus the 24. So I get plus 4x cubed y. My bad. Sorry. So here, when I take 25 minus 120 and add 36, I will get negative 59 x squared y squared. 150 minus 180 is negative 30 x and y cubed. And my 225 y to the fourth. That's a y up there. Okay. And that's it for day 2.